Hey, everybody, it's Market Marathon Press with another podcast. Today, joining me is Keith Howe, a Professional Photographers of America judge. And I've always wanted to get into the head of a judge. And today I'm going to pick on Keith. And Keith is one of those great guys who has so many initials after his name from his degrees that he needs two business cards. So I'm just going to name a few of these here. PPA Master, Craftsman, Master Artist, Master of Electronic Imaging. I know you don't have it yet, Keith, but it's just a matter of time. You'll get the new Master's Wedding Photographer degree.
Working toward it.
Keith is also a recipient of the PPA National Award as well as the Service Award. And I know those are two in particular you're very proud of, Keith. But in addition to that, you have the Gary Gentolf Award. Good. And an honorary fellow life member of PPN, and the Dave Sabota Award from the Greater Kansas City PPA. So there's a ton more that I could list, but the whole blog would just be nothing but that. So basically, sounds like you're qualified, Keith. Okay, tell us about the judging process for those that have never entered, Keith. You know, when the title is announced and the image comes up on the screen, what happens next as a judge? What do you look at first, and what do you start thinking, and what crosses your mind?
Well, first thing out is the initial impact when you see it. And it starts in on the title because that triggers the storytelling part of things. So you get the title and the image pops up, and you generally look at it really quick. And then subconsciously, because you've been entering for a while and everything else, you kind of built your mind to look at it. You analyze it for composition. You analyze it for technical excellence, for storytelling. You know, all those different things go flying through your mind. And it's not like you're checking things off or anything that direction, but it's just registering your mind how successfully it's handled that element. And in the districts and IPC situations, we aren't putting scores on. We're just going, is it a merit or is it not a merit? And so you're looking at them and you look at it and say, okay, it's a merit, and you hit it. And like I said earlier, there's 5 judges on a panel plus a JC. So our scoring pads simply, you know, it's pretty simple stuff. It just merit, no merit, or DQ. And you punch your scores in, the JC sees those come in. If there's a DQ, the JC then becomes the active judge and scores it.
Okay.
So it is an average of 5 viewpoints. Obviously, the majority wins. Then anybody on that panel can challenge it. But you can challenge it in 2 ways. One, if you disagree with the end result and you think it should be a merit or vice versa, you can challenge. If you feel you missed the image, in other words, I looked at it and I said, you know, it's a merit. And then I'm sitting there going, dang it, I just saw all the, you know, marks in the background and stuff. Then you can challenge because you're changing your score.
Okay.
But the process on a challenge is the challenger announces their challenge. They mention the 3 or 4 points, whatever they're wanting to look at. And then each judge on the panel has a turn to say how they scored it and what they saw, pros and cons. They try not to repeat other judges. So, you know, 3rd and 4th judge in might be saying it's already been said, rather than take the time to repeat all the same things. We don't want it to sound like we're just beating a print to death or something that direction. But in the end, the challenger then gets a chance to rebuttal. And so let's say I was the challenger, I'm going to listen to the different comments, and anybody that was opposing where I wanted it to go, if I see their viewpoint, I announce that and I make my change. You have to say what you're changing to. If I don't see their viewpoints that way, I try to address their concerns. So if somebody said, it's too bright in the upper right-hand corner or something like that, maybe in that particular image, it balances something in the lower left so that it creates a yin yang back and forth. And I can explain that to the other jurors. So that's what the rebuttal process is. And then it gets the final score.
I always found the challenging process extremely interesting and educational, because that's really kind of where you learn, not even if it's your print, if it's somebody else's print, it's interesting to hear the thought process that goes through the judges, and particularly if there's one that really loves it and one that really isn't. And that is always a head scratcher, but that's why you have 5 judges, right?
Yep. One other thing I will say on this process, at the district and national level, the committees work really hard to get a nice mix of people on the panels. A really good judging panel should have somebody that is a technical judge that really sees the technical excellence, the little details, all that kind of stuff. Generally, real technical people are not real strong on the emotional story side. So you want to have on the opposite side of that panel, the warm, fuzzy storytelling people, so that you get a mix. And a lot of times I hear people, especially when it's the scores, they'll say, well, why does one judge say it's this and this other judge says it's clear up here at this? It's because you're getting the 2 viewpoints, and you want the judges to have their own viewpoint. PPA is never teaching judges to how to score and what is, quote, a merit. They're teaching how judges should address the images, and never the maker and never your fellow juror and that kind of thing. And so that's the training process to it.
I took the PPA judging class and again, found it extremely helpful. I learned as much just being in that class as I did seeing my own images come up. And so for anybody that, even if they're not aspiring to be a judge necessarily, I encourage them to take that class because it is extremely valuable. A couple more to finish up here. What does image excellence mean, and how does that process work? How does the image get selected for that recognition?
Okay, image excellence means essentially it's the best of the best. So everything that is a merit goes before a image excellence panel. And that panel consists of at least 5 judges, but it's usually 5, 7, 9, or 11. So it's always an odd number. Simple majority rules. And they go through kind of quick because we already know their merit. So you're looking, does it have that extra impact, that extra storytelling, whatever, that makes it rise up to that level of image excellence? And so you're punching in the score, yes or no, and you have the same challenge options again. The difference on a challenge on image excellence is the challenging juror gets to say their piece. Then the JC will ask if there's anybody else in favor of the image. And they'll take 1 or 2 that way. Anybody else against? Anybody else want to speak? Call for the rebuttal. So it isn't going to go down the line to every judge. It's just going to hit the ones that really see something they want to have voiced. And then it goes back for a revote.
Well, again, it's a really fair process. It's about as fair as you can make a judging like this. And for the most part, it works. I say that because once in a while I lose out on 1 vote.
I've lost out a few times on 1 vote. So.
Yeah. So judges aren't perfect, you're saying?
No.
Only when they agree with you, right? Okay. What are the benefits of entering print competition, Keith? Why put yourself through this?
Everybody gets what they want to out of competition. For me, and what I see a lot of people take advantage of is it's a growth. It totally improves your photography. The more you get involved with this and you start to see the different elements, even while you're photographing, your mind starts to subconsciously register these things, and you'll notice your work level starts coming up. That benefits not only yourself because you're doing, fun new things, but your clients and everybody else, because the work comes up, they start to see value in it. And, that equals money. A lot of times people say, print competition doesn't get you any green merits money. To me, it's the total opposite. It may not be the competition image that I'm selling, but the stuff I learn from the process translates to my client. The way to solve a problem, you get in competition and it's like, man, if I could fix this one thing, the image would be better. So you learn a new process of how to artwork it, whatever. And that translates then to your next time you come up to that on your client's work. It's like, oh man, I wish I'd seen that in camera, but I can fix it now because I learned how to do it. So competition is a stretching, learning benefit that way. And then lastly, well, I don't know if I can say lastly, but to me, competition is marketing. Every time we'd enter, we would put a press release out. You can do it on social media. You can do it in your newspapers. Some of the bigger cities don't run them quite as easily, but you just put a little press release out. You were at the whatever conference and entered the prints and received whatever, ribbon colors, if you have that, or anything. And after a few times of doing it, you become known as the one that's always winning the awards. And people don't even read them anymore. I put a press release out that, I gave a program in Maine, and I'll walk down the street and people will stop you and say, oh, I saw you won another award. I didn't even enter anything in there, but but you just become known as the one that's always doing these things. And so competition then is a marketing tool. It builds you into the studio.
That's part of the camaraderie, I think, of putting yourself through that process and doing it on a repeated level. I mean, it doesn't matter for me anyway. You always feel better when you do well, but at the same time, even when you don't, you find yourself going, what did I learn from that?
Yep.
And how do I learn from that for next time? And I always feel bad because I know some people take it really tough, when they don't get a merit and they really find that their self-worth just falls apart. And I want to tell them so badly, look, first of all, you're amongst friends. No one's going to make fun of you for having received a non-merit. And it doesn't make you any less of a photographer. Your clients still love you. In fact, regardless if you get 100 score in print competition, your client honestly doesn't care. They just care because you're a great person and you do very nice work and you're consistent. They trust you. So I think that's the one thing was part of my number 10 question there was, print competition is good, but if it crushes you as a person, maybe you don't enter, because it's not that, your self-worth is not tied to this. Your value as a photographer to your customers for sure is not tied to that.
Well, it's like what I tell a lot of people all the time is you have to remember, one, we're not critiquing or scoring you as a person. It's one image at one moment in time from 5 viewpoints. So a lot of people, get so emotionally involved in their image. We all do that, but they maybe take it personal, and it's learning to say, this is not me as a person. This is what I did at this particular time. And that helps. I've had people say, and especially when you're starting out, don't enter images of your loved ones, because when somebody says something, about the image, you tend to take it as you don't like my child, or you don't like and I personally entered my kids and that kind of stuff, but I know that there is that viewpoint out. And so just be aware if you're doing things like that. It is not a personal attack. It's not a personal thing. It's that image at that time. I use competition a lot of times as a way to stretch myself. After I had my master's, one of my goals was to be able to score really strong on a commercial image. My business at that time didn't do a lot of commercial. So I was using that as my stretching tool to make myself do that and learn that field. It also helped my business then because we started picking up some more commercial things. So yes, it benefits again.
Excellent. I really appreciate this, Keith. And I know the goal of this podcast is to help people understand print competition and understand it's not a scary thing to enter. It's great to have a resource like you and those that do this kind of mentoring and judging to kind of help people understand it's not scary, it's helpful, and you can benefit from it.
You bet. I do have one more thing for you.
Yeah.
If they get to attend a judging somewhere, even if it's not your images, if you can pull the judges aside after they're done, it's got to be after they're done. A lot of times I like to do it on one-on-one and just ask them, on this image, tell me what you saw, what made it score, how it did. And if you talk to them one-on-one, when you hear the same points from 2 or 3 different people, I call those the gold nuggets. And you can learn from it and take it quicker that way. The other thing is, if you get to watch a judging, try to put your score in before the score is announced. Just treat yourself to look for it. But I will also tell you, if you're watching the online judgings, you're not seeing the real image. You're seeing a small version. And so sometimes the judges will see things that you just don't see on your monitor. It's because it's that smaller file. So
it's an excellent point, because they're basically a thumbnail we're seeing on that come around on the image on the monitor, and the judges are seeing it in the full resolution.
Right.
Good point. Well, we're about out of time here, Keith. So I want to thank you so much for doing this conversation and podcast with me, because I've been a great admirer of your work for a long time, and you've been such a good mentor to so many people over the years, and that's why I'm particularly happy that you agreed to do this. Keith, if people want to get a hold of you, how can they reach you?
You can email me at imager410@hotmail.com. imager410@hotmail.com.
Excellent.
Keep in mind, I won't be able to look at specific images if you're going to enter them this year.
Good point.
Because I don't want to have to DQ myself when they come around.
Yep.
But you could send them to my wife at that same email address, just note to Holly, and she can give opinions that doesn't have to involve me.
Okay. And I'm available at markw@marathonpress.net, or you can call me at 800-228-0629, extension 283. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Keith, thank you again so much.
Well, thanks for having me.